Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Isabel, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to review the White Nights watercolors set. I believe I have the set of 60, and I got it in April, so I've been painting with it for more than half a year. I'm too tired to actually count today, so yeah, this is the palette that I use pretty much all of the time. While I'm doing this review, I'm going to insert footage of a painting that I'm doing with these paints, just in my sketchbook so that you can really see how they work and see the vibrancy of the paints. So I hope you enjoy that. I also didn't really have enough angles to photograph the palette from to fill up this entire monologue, and I don't think you want to see 15 minutes of me swatching paints. So figured this would be more interesting, so enjoy that. Alright, let's get into this. Let's start with the cons. So overall, I really love this palette. I think a lot of the main cons for me are in the actual palette itself. You know, the paints are wonderful. I love the paints, but the construction of the palette is just not ideal. I mean, it's got these big wells, which are wonderful for mixing, but they're sloped to the middle, so all the paint will pool in one area, and it's hard to, spread your pigment out and have more separate mixing areas for different colors. Like, they all just pool to the middle and become one big mess. Also, the pigments tend to get stuck in the little ridges of the palette, so sometimes you think you cleaned it all, and then you go in with like a different color family. Like, let's say you were painting with blue before, and then you clean out your palette, you switch to painting with a bunch of reds. If you're not careful, your paintbrush might nick into the corners of the palette and get blue on it, and then get all into your red, and then you have a bunch of purple. And I haven't really found an efficient way to clean those corners. Also, the palette is plastic, which makes it so that it stains, which isn't a huge deal. And I mean, it's a fairly cheap set, so it, they're not going to give you a fancy ceramic or metal palette. They're going with the plastic because that's the cheapest. But it is slightly annoying when you're trying to paint and get a really transparent wash of color, and you dilute your pigments, but then all you're seeing is the blue stain shining through. And some of these pigments are really staining, so not only do they stain the paper, which is nice, but they stain the palette itself as well. Another thing that is frustrating to me is that the pans move around. There's lots of extra space, and I get that that's there to, easily be able to switch out the pans to put them in order that you like, but it's annoying because they move around so easily, and I don't think there needs to be that much space. A lot of palette designs will have a little notch like in front of each palette so that you can pull it out, but this palette doesn't have that. So if you were, if you're trying to change your pans out, if you want to make a custom set, then it's easier. But when you're painting, which is more often than switching out pans, it's just kind of inconvenient. I have seen some other people that use this palette take magnets and like put a magnetic strip on the bottom of each of the rows that contain the pans, and then put a little magnet on the bottom of each of their pans so they stick together. I don't have the patience for that, but it's a good idea, so there's that. Oh, is my cat coming in? Hi, kitty. Do you want to come in? Also, in terms of packaging, when I got the package, they were wrapped really nicely, but then inside all the wrappers was like this weird dirt. And I looked around at some other people's Toulouse. You're making way too much noise, bub. I looked at some other reviews, and this seems to be a common problem. And it wasn't a huge deal, once I started using the paints and got water all over them. But it was just kind of annoying, and it felt like they didn't really care enough about their customer experience to actually take care when packaging. Also, with the paints themselves, most of the stuff I've been talking about has been the packaging of the paints. Toulouse, you need to stop rustling. Baby, be good. Some of the colors seem to have a lot of binder. I don't make paint, but I'm pretty sure that they have a lot of binder because they have very little pigment in them. Some of the paints, you'll swipe the brush and it will be full of pigment. And, I understand that some paints are not as opaque, and that's just like a thing. But even if they're not opaque, they still should be able to darken and layer. And some of these paints just feel like they can't do that. Or they can't. They don't feel like they can't. They can't. Especially like the cerulean blue. Oh, not the cerulean. The cobalt blue, I think. And the one of the browns too, and one of the like golden yellowy colors that I swatched both the blue and the yellowy color that are really weird like that. So you can't really tell that well in the swatches, but just trust me, if you try to layer those, they're not going to get any deeper. You have to mix them with a more pigmented color, which is, I don't know. I mean, I'm not the most experienced watercolor painter. Maybe that's a normal thing and something you just have to deal with, but I find it kind of annoying. That's basically all this review is Isabel finds this annoying and Isabel likes this. So take my opinions with a grain of salt because they're not professional or even experienced opinions, but they're just the opinions of somebody who has painted with this palette pretty much every day for months. So there's that. All right, going into the pros. Most of the paints are really vibrant, which I love. A lot of them are super saturated, gorgeous colors, and you can, water them down, but if you want just that super high intensity of color, you can get it. One that I use frequently is the ruby color, which is like a cool red. I think it's like a pyrrole red, but I don't know. That's just what's coming to my brain, so maybe I'm wrong. But it's gorgeous, so vibrant, and it's actually quite opaque, which I love. Maybe I should just try gouache, because I really like, that opacity there with certain parts of the painting. But yeah, so many of these colors are just so gorgeous and beautiful, and there's so many of them too. Like for the price, which I will have to look up and put on the screen here. The price is really good for the amount of paint that you're getting. And the amount of colors. Like, this is really good. And they're really good quality paints too. Like, they're not like Schminke or Daniel Smith level, but they're pretty dang good. They're not like, Cotman level student grade paints. They're artist quality paints. And also, all of the pans are whole pans, which, can we just talk about how we need more whole pans in our lives? Because when you're trying to put a brush in that paint and it's a tiny little half pan, you're going to get paint on, you're going to get on all of the other pans. and your brush is not going to stay on the one pan, but this is wonderful. I can use like my big, like, huge round brush. I think it's like a size, I don't know what size it is, but it's big. Okay. I use it for like, big washes and stuff. And I can get that on those pans very nicely. So, love the whole pans. Good choice, White Knights. And, they're also cheap, which I said. There's a lot of mixing space, which is really nice because a lot of palettes don't come with that much mixing space. And then you have to like get out another palette or like a ceramic plate or something to mix on. And that's just, for somebody with a small desk, that we don't need that, okay? We need paints next to the mixing space. So, good job, White Knights. We like that. They also blend really well. I put a side-by-side comparison. The painting with the flowers coming out of the girl's head, who looks really sad, that was painted with Cotman watercolors. The other one is painted with the White Knights. They are on different papers, but I feel like the observations that you can see in this, like I painted with both on both papers, and the White Knights are far better. So as you can tell from those side-by-sides, the White Knights colors just blend so nicely. And yes, there is a difference in, experience. I painted the first one, I think, in March or February. The second one is from sometime this summer, so we'll say like July. So there is a difference there technically, but what I found with the Cotman watercolors was that you couldn't really blend two colors together on the paper. You had to do all the mixing separately and then kind of water each one down and put another layer on. And I know some people love the Cotmans. I hate them. I'll do a video on those later. This is not about those, but yeah, that's the difference. I think that they work beautifully. They blend so smoothly. It's like a dream. And all the paints are so creamy. Well, most of them are, except for those couple that are also extremely... They're not even extremely transparent. They're just like... They don't have... They're really light pigments, I guess. And then those also tend to be extremely gummy paints. So you can't even really try to layer them to their full intensity because they just get all gummy and they don't flow on the paper. But besides, there's like maybe 5 pans that I don't paint with because I can't. But besides those, all of them are so creamy and vibrant and gorgeous and wonderful. And, as I think it's pretty obvious from what I've been saying, this is a more opaque set. So if you like painting with a more transparent layering style of watercolors, you're going to have to do a lot of diluting, which, gives you a lot of control because if a paint is not that intense, you can't make it more intense. So there's that. And the majority of them are super light fast. I don't have the specific light fast ratings. They were on the packaging when I got it, and I got rid of the packaging because I didn't have a YouTube channel at that point. So sorry you didn't get to see the pretty swatching and unboxing stuff, but it was nice. But the majority of them are fairly light fast. The one that had the lowest light fast rating was the violet color. And so I steer clear of that one just because I want my paintings to last, because I'm pretentious and I want people to see my art and I want to be able to see my art. So yeah, and I mean, it's not a huge loss to not have that violet because I don't really use it that much anyway. Like I wouldn't use it that much anyway. So yeah, overall, the really great set for people who want to try higher quality watercolors but don't want to spend, a ton of money on the super fancy brands. I upgraded to these a couple months into my watercolor journey when I was just like, I was so frustrated with those Gottman paints. I could not work with them. And I was like, I really am enjoying watercolor. I think it might be the medium for me. I'm just going to go for it. And these, I want to say they were about $60 or $70 when I got them, which is like $1 and a couple cents per pan, which is pretty dang good, if I do say so myself. So they're really good bang for your buck. Good for, upgrade, your first upgrade, or, your last upgrade. They're wonderful. I would give them like a 7.5 out of 10 rating. So that's my review. I hope that's helpful for anybody who is looking to maybe buy these or maybe not buy them. I would recommend buying them. I like them. But if you're used to the super fancy brands, I don't know how you would feel. All right, thank you for watching this review. If you like the painting that you saw, if you like listening to me talk, then I'd love it if you would stick around, leave a comment, do all that fun stuff. If you like my art but you hate my voice, you can follow me on Instagram, where I don't talk, except for in captions. And that's all that I have for you. So, yeah. See you around. Bye-bye.